So in today's matchup, we have the Behemoth from Godzilla King of the Monsters versus the giant Sker Buffalo. And to do this matchup, obviously I had to make the Sker Buffalo way bigger because the Sker Buffalo in Kong Skull Island is only around 50 feet. So I had to make the Sker Buffalo a lot bigger in order to make this matchup even fair. But the reason why I picked this matchup was a few reasons. They both look like really they belong on Skull Island. And when I saw the Behemoth for the first time, I really thought that it looked like he belonged on Skull Island. And if you look between these two creatures, they have so many similarities. They're both furry, hairy creatures, they both have horns or tusks, and they really do resemble each other a lot. And when I saw this matchup, they just look so similar, I just felt like I had to do this matchup, and since it really felt like the Behemoth was really a creature from Kong Skull Island. The Behemoth is standing right around 300 feet. I'm trying to make this matchup fair. The Sker Buffalo is going to be standing at right around 300 feet as well. When talking about the Behemoth first, it resembles mainly a mammoth at first, with the tusks makes it basically for 90% a mammoth, and the look of it and just how it walks and everything like that, and from what we see in Godzilla King of the Monsters. But it also resembles a gorilla and sloth, because if you look at this picture, if you see the front arms, they definitely look more prominent and they have claws on them. And those claws clearly resemble a sloth. They have the claws on the front and they can grab with the arms. And it's also a gorilla in a sense, because from the graphic novel, it says that it can stand on its back legs. And it definitely, you can just tell it resembles a gorilla in the way that it stands. And the way, if you look at the Kong and Jackson's Kong, it definitely resembles that. And you can definitely see that very well. The three animals it mainly portrays is a mammoth, a gorilla, and a sloth, just from what you can see in the little scenes in the pictures that we got. And the Sker Buffalo, obviously the name is Buffalo, so it's going to resemble that the most. And it's very similar to the Behemoth in the way that it has the horns. It has, except the horns, instead of going straight out, they go out to the side. Now, these horns can stretch much further and wider than the Behemoth's. The Sker Buffalo mainly just represents a buffalo, and there's really nothing too special about it. And while they're so similar, I still think that there are just so many differences that make this fight very interesting. As far as the Behemoth goes, both of these creatures, we did not see any attack moves for the most part. We saw one minor move from the Behemoth in Godzilla King of the Monsters, but for the most part, there's not much actual footage and action between these two kaijus. You didn't get to see any of these kaijus fight other kaijus. You saw the aftermath for one. But as far as the Behemoth goes, I feel that the Behemoth has a lot better of an attack, mainly because of the way that the tusks are angled, and just like a woolly mammoth, they're sticking straight out. You got the sharp pointed edges right out, and I just feel like the position that those horns are at a much better advantage for attacking. I feel that the tusks are better for stabbing, have the sharp points on the end, and it's just easier to keep a predator off of them, at least at the front. And something worth pointing out for the Behemoth is the sharp claws on the front arms, that the Behemoth can't stand on his back legs and use his arms in that aspect, which puts him at a major advantage over the Sker Buffalo, who just has 4 legs and definitely cannot do that. So the Behemoth is basically King Kong in that aspect, where it can stand on its back 2 legs and use its arms, which is just an insane advantage. And the Sker Buffalo, while the horns are sticking outward instead of straight forward, I feel that the Sker Buffalo has a better defense because of the way that these horns are arranged. They are pointing outwards and they're very wide in their wingspan. So it would make it very difficult to get around the Sker Buffalo. It would make it very difficult for the Behemoth to get around him and try to stab him on the side. Because of how wide these horns are, it would definitely make it a difficult task to get around. So I feel that the Sker Buffalo has a better defense with the horns in that aspect. But at the same time, this Sker Buffalo, the way that the horns are arranged on his head, gives him basically a shield right around his head. So if he wanted to charge, he can do some massive damage and has basically no way of getting injured on the front. The face is a little exposed, but at the top of the head, where the horns meet the head, is an absolute shield, and when charging, can be a dominant force. The Sker Buffalo can also camouflage and stay under the water for days, which is just a minor thing to point out. As far as weaknesses go, in Kong Skull Island, you see the Sker Buffalo actually get eaten by a skullcrawler. We don't really know the exact size of that Sker Buffalo, but I'm guessing it's right around the same size as the other ones in the movie. But the main point is the Sker Buffalo was taken down by a skullcrawler that was right around his size, if not a little bit smaller. So if you equate that out to when the Sker Buffalo is huge and the skullcrawler is huge as well, it's the same effect. So if he was able to get taken down by that, that obviously does not look good for the Sker Buffalo in this battle. But when comparing it to a Skullcrawler to a competitor like the Behemoth, I just feel they're totally different creatures. The Skullcrawler is way quicker and faster than what the Behemoth would attack like and what he is like. So I feel that's not really a fair comparison, but it is worth pointing out. And the Behemoth in Godzilla King of the Monsters did bow to Godzilla, so that shows that it's not that big of a force. If it's not going to challenge Godzilla, clearly it's not that overwhelmingly crazy of a force if he's just going to bow to Godzilla. Which I guess necessarily doesn't mean that he's not as powerful, but just means he didn't want to challenge him, which in my mind does kind of say that he's in a major force because he's not going to challenge the Alpha for the throne. But as far as who would win this fight, if these two creatures are both lined up, ready to battle, I do think that the defense is still better on the Sker Buffalo with the wingspan of the horns being out wide and being able to attack with the bone shield, which the Behemoth actually doesn't have any protection on the top of his head. The tusks come below, which is still very good for keeping the Sker Buffalo off of him. Having those tusks straight out would be very effective, and he basically has two weapons right in front of him. And I do think that would be very helpful in this fight. And I honestly think that the main thing that gives Behemoth the edge in this fight is having the two arms. The two front legs that you see him walking on, he can actually stand on his back too and use his arms and has sharp claws, and that just puts it over the edge for me. While the Sker Buffalo is a formidable force and the bone shield would be very effective when he charges, I just have to give this win to the Behemoth. I feel that he would eventually be able to get enough damage with those front tusks or use his arms to flip the Sker Buffalo over. And in the end, the Sker Buffalo will be a major threat and a force, but I'd have to give the win to the Behemoth in this fight. But as always, let me know down below who you think will win in this fight and which matchups I should do next. Make sure you let me know down below, and thanks for watching.